Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the 2025 squad, kind of big picture going into it all?
Yeah, season-wise, really excited. Got some good depth in the circle. I think experience on the offensive side, knock on wood, pretty healthy. I think the season that some of our freshmen had last year to take into this year is pretty neat to see. They're almost like veteran juniors right now, which is really neat to see. So leadership and strong, so really excited about it.
Did you want to open with 2 straight weeks on the road? Was that something you did intentionally?
I won't say too intentionally. Clearwater is kind of like, it's an easier trip for us. So it is on the road, but it's also, we've been down there quite a bit, pretty comfortable for us. We know what we're doing down there. So Puerto Vallarta will definitely shake the excitement, just going internationally, Mexico internationally. But, I think the whole experience for us to go down there as a team will really be good for our culture in the beginning, and then play, teams like Oklahoma State and La Tech and Northern Colorado is going to be good for us. So excited about that. We are on the road a lot this year, and it just worked out that way with the ACC schedule coming out and, having Cal mixed in there. And then last year we got frozen out, rained out, whatever in Oregon. So then we picked up that game again this year. So we are a little bit of red wire. It's the way it is. But yeah, I think it's going to be really good for us.
How much of that is maybe like RPI and scheduling and just preparing for what's to come down the road in the postseason too?
Yeah, I think we're really good at going out and playing the best that we can play in our schedule, and we're lucky with the Alabama and Florida and some local. We can get some good teams there. A&M coming into town, like I'm really lucky there. But it is nice to get outside of your region and play some RPI outside your region. So that's going to be good for us. But I think everyone knows that we like to play a really competitive schedule. So regardless of where we're going, we're going to try to hunt out great teams to get after a good competitive schedule.
With Jasani had the season that she had,
Yep.
What's a way for someone like her and even Torres as well try to top after the first year?
Yeah, I think first of all, we talk about not topping the year you had before. I think that's a conversation had with both of them. You're just you get 4 years to play this game. So be the most consistent you can possibly be and have the most fun you can possibly have. I think if they try to top things or, just really look at numbers and outcomes, then it becomes a really long season. And so I think that we've had a lot of those talks with Jay in general. She's been feeling the pressure a little bit on that side. But I think her teammates are helping her to enjoy the game a little bit more. Every competitor wants to be the best they can be, but you got to stay grounded and be consistent every single day. And she's been really good with that and acknowledging that.
You were talking about some of the second-year players taking a step. Obviously, she's one that's already kind of proven herself. But a young lady like Kennedy Harp, is she kind of primed to take that next step, probably earn a role in the outfield for you guys pretty consistently?
Yeah, I think Ken's really worked hard. We had an opportunity to get her in there last year, and then she stayed in there. She started showing something, stayed in there, and then the freshman parts came in. So she were in now the lineup a little bit here and there, whether it was defensive or some base running. But then she got a feel for what she needed to do over break, and she did that. So over summer break and then over the Christmas break, really tuned in on some things to keep her there more consistently. And so her maturity as a sophomore right now has been really good just because of the experience that she got last year. Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. How much was bolstering the circle like an intention of building to 25 roster in the sense of adding Julia and AB from the portal, getting Jazzy from the high school ranks, and then obviously the ones you're bringing back too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think you planned last season to be what it was pitching wise with the injuries that we had, so it was kind of unfortunate for Allison to end her career, with a broken rib, and for McKenna to try to figure out how to manage her back and try to see what the best version of McKenna is moving forward. And my whole thing is not to ride them like racehorses. I want them to be able to raise their groceries and pick up their kids in 15 years, So it's like trying to get them to understand that, like, taking care of themselves and doing what they can do best right now. So I think managing that last year was a little bit tough, but man, they really came together and did what they needed to do as a squad. And adding Julia to the mix and Annabelle has been incredibly good for us, not only for pitching, but their experience has been great. I think Julia's had the ball, tons of innings there at Hofstra, and she felt really confident in her ability. So she brings that in here, and Annabelle, the experience, at Auburn was really good for her too. So yeah, that addition part is going to be big for us, but Ashton knows what she's capable of. Jazzy's pretty confident in her abilities, so we're going to have a lot of looks.
Where is Kenna at in regards to managing it all and,
Still managing it, still figuring it out, yeah. I mean, she's pitching, which is great, so she's getting after it, but might be on some pitch counts. We'll see. It's a long season, and our ultimate goal is to be cruising to Oklahoma City at the end of the season, so yeah.
So I know you're probably still tinkering with this, Coach, but do you have a feeling on what you're going to do at second base now that Dev has moved on?
Mm-hmm.
Are you confident there, or is it still a work in progress?
Super confident. I got Annie Potter, Christina Hartley, and Annabelle, so we have options there. Both of them also can play third base, so we have options there. Annie's been playing short and second, so we have options there too. So I think we're in a really good spot there. Yeah.
Is it more going to be like a platoon rotation, or do you think you're going to set
today's practice, and we'll figure it out when we get there. Yeah.
Was Jurio going to help you at first, more than likely?
I mean, I think again we've got Amaya and Angeli been working there. I think Belly's been mixed in there. Shelby McKenzie's been swinging it. She's been in there too. So again, like we're pretty deep in a lot of positions right now. So yeah, but we'll see. I think Amaya's got some good experience over there and had a really good year last year. So yeah.
And DeLong fits into the outfield rotation, I presume.
Yeah. So a little speedster, a little short gamer. So a little something different than we had before. Kind of like a Mudge, I guess, in the sense that could do triple threat stuff. Can run a little bit. It's got a pretty good arm in the outfield, so maybe a defensive person, base running person, get some time at the plate. Yeah.
So, Coach, this is our first time meeting with you this season. I always like to ask you about any rule changes or anything new coming down the pipe that you think might impact the season. Yeah,
we haven't got our update yet, but haven't really heard much. In regards to rule changes this year, or emphasis, what they're going to emphasize this year. So I know that the replant, crow hop, that's kind of been around for the last 3 or 4 years. Probably going to be talked about a little bit, but I haven't heard too much, but nothing drastic that we did last year with the pitch clock and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I know the last few seasons the safety bag was a thing that was talked about. That's still not going to be in the works. No. And you don't think do you think that's going to come at all?
I'm not really sure. I mean, with Major League Baseball changing the size of their bases, and having a little something there, I think we've dabbled and talked about it a little bit, but until most conferences put it into their conference play, which the SEC move forward with that, does the ACC move, and then you can move it to the NCAA, so it's still kind of out there for people to decide whether they want it or not.
Do you personally think it's a good idea?
I go either way.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go either way. Yeah, the more you see the slappers in their game coming around and through the base, it does take away part of the baseline. So, we've had an international play for a long time and it's not been an issue. So, if it's safer for our sport, all for it. And, either way.
Any rule changes you're advocating for, or the league's coaches are maybe wanting to see, whether it's this year or down the road, something that...
Yeah, no. I think our game's in a pretty good spot. I think the pitching thing has always been something that will continue to be going. But yeah, no, there's nothing really on that side. Recruiting calendar's been our big thing, and going into just recruiting and NIL and all that kind of stuff and portal. So I think that's been more of our switch right now. It's how do we protect our sport and that part of it versus on the field. I think the on the field part's pretty good right now, and maybe more of pushing more TV opportunities. Trying to get us on TV more because we all know that that's where the support comes from and the financial side of it. So there's a little bit of that, but I think our game's been going pretty good.
You think portal window needs to be smaller, kind of like what football's talking about currently?
I mean, I think conversations, right? So our portal opens up while we're all in postseason and going into the World Series. And so I know for the last couple of years it's been a struggle because you're trying to balance what your current team's doing, but you're also trying to be in recruit mode, and that's really tough to do. And then there's a little advantage to people that are hosting because they can bring people on, but the rest of us, maybe not be. And then, so that's always kind of been a little bit of a talking point. But yeah, and I think when you line up the recruiting windows right now, we got dead periods mixed in home football game weekends. You can't bring anybody on. So it's just, everything needs to be realigned at some point, and that's what we're looking into. Yeah.